Hey everyone, I wanted to put together this guide to help anyone that may be struggling with Markus Wulfhart. We're going to start with 5 tips to make your campaign easier, followed by a brief overview of his skill points and technologies, and then we'll see how to use this information during the first 22 turns of a legendary campaign. The first tip is ambush. Ambush, ambush, ambush. When you're in an ambush stance, the AI will make decisions as if your army is not there at all. Sometimes the AI pushes forward with weak or small armies if you've gone missing, and Markus has an inherent bonus to successful ambushes. The second tip is to use your starting garrison offensively. Now, garrisons can't move, so exactly how do you do this? By ambushing within the zone of control of your settlement. Any enemy that attacks your settlement will either be ambushed by Markus with the garrison reinforcing or attacking your city with Markus reinforcing. In either case, you get to use the garrison like an extra army that costs 0 upkeep. The third tip is to be patient. It's tempting to quickly coalesce your starting province, but maybe a better strategy is to let the AI hold on to some of those cities a little longer and to grow them with their own AI bonuses before you take them back. Who doesn't want to recruit Imperial supply units or regiments of renown immediately for duty? But consider letting them sit idle and using them as an instant replenishment mechanic after a particularly damaging fight. The fourth tip is fight your battles. The auto-resolve can be pretty harsh for Markus, either by causing excessive casualties or wiping out entire units. If the beginning of the campaign becomes a war of attrition, then you will lose if the auto-resolve is grinding your forces away. And the final tip is fly kites. The initial infantry of the Empire is outclassed by almost everything else in Lustria and often flees after prolonged melee clashes. Whenever possible, kite the enemy with your war wagons, Markus, a second hero or lord, or even your own infantry while you fill the enemy with arrows and missile shot. Wait a minute, I have a bonus tip, but it has a possible expiration date. If Nikai dies in your campaign, then try asking his vassal faction for peace and 10,000 gold. It could help you in a pinch, but I do expect Creative Assembly will patch this behavior eventually. Now, let's talk about Markus's skills. Except for Route Marcher, I don't really think the blue line is worth the trouble. The standouts in his yellow line are the snares, so if you want those, I'd pick up the bare minimum skills to get there and probably focus on health and defense. Markus's 2 unique lines are full of goodies, most of which I think are worthwhile for the bonuses to missile units and his own missile damage, but they'll cost 16 points to get them all. I would put at least 10 points into the red line for Pistol Corps and Emperor's Finest. These boost your missile units and your halberdiers, which is exactly what you'll need to take down large monsters in Lustria. Further in the red line are Sharpshooter and Taste for Battle. They only affect units that are ranked 7 or higher, but extra missile damage for missile units or 15% physical resist for your better melee and cavalry units is awesome. Now, what order should you pick these skills in? Well, it depends on where you're struggling in your campaign. Markus's individual skills and buffs come into play when you start facing more large monsters after 20 or 30 turns. It's okay to get them early, but if you're struggling in battles with the Lizard or Savage Orc infantry, then consider getting Emperor's Finest or Pistol Corps from the red line first. And this advice carries over to the technologies. I think Markus's technology tree is pretty good, and there's a lot of synergy, for example, missile damage, between the technologies, Markus's skills, and those of the unique hunters. I think I could start anywhere on Markus's technology tree and still win the campaign, but again, if you're struggling in battle, then consider picking technologies that boost your infantry or missile units and accompany these choices with complementary skills in your lords and heroes. Now, I present 22 turns of a legendary Vortex campaign applying these strategies and ideas. I can't make any guarantees that this would work equally well in Mortal Empires, but would love to read comments from anybody that has better success in that campaign after watching this guide. Also keep in mind that Creative Assembly may patch or update the game in ways that render parts or all of this guide useless, although I hope not. Enjoy! On turn 1, we have the option to fight a small lizardman stack. However, it's a difficult matchup for our starting army, so instead we'll pull back with Markus into an ambush near the city. If they attack, we may get to defend with Markus plus our garrison. In order not to miss out on any recruitment, we'll also bring in a second lord to recruit 3 units of swordsmen. we'll research our first missile upgrades to increase ammunition, and for Ricard, we'll put his first skill points into the red line to buff infantry and missile units. Success! The lizards have fallen trapped to our ambush, and you can see from the post-battle screen Marcus's army took few casualties. I did this by kiting the Bastillodon and some units of Saurus with the war wagon, while the garrison picked apart the remainders. Their general eventually fled the field, and eventually the Bastillodon, weakened by the war wagon, charged solo into the spears and missile fire and died. The rest of the army fled soon after. On turn 2, we'll pick up Inspiring Presence for Marcus. We have the option to push forward to take Chotek, but I think that's a mistake. The AI will grow the city's population faster than we can, so we want to wait until the lizards have upgraded it to tier 3 before attacking. Instead, we'll use Marcus to put pressure on the Blue Vipers by leaving our port in a forced march and landing on their shores near Temple of Kara. We'll also recruit free company militia with Ricard to bolster our numbers. Turn 3 finds us recruiting 3 units of archers with Ricard, and will demolish our barracks building as we won't be recruiting any more of the units it provides. We declare war on the Blue Vipers by attacking Temple of Kara. It's going to be a tough battle.
Destroy! We cannot win!
Our Empire infantry can't win a sustained combat against the Savage Orcs, so while our missile units pump their garrison leader full of arrows, we charge in with our war wagon that cause extra damage. Then we redirect the wagon towards their missile troops to disrupt their fire while kiting more of their infantry with Marcus. With their missile units backpedaling and their garrison leader shattered and retreating off the battlefield, we pursue them off the map with our war wagon. Meanwhile, their infantry has turned to engage our own ranks, so we pull back to do more damage with our missiles. Once our lines engage, we do manage to envelop one of their infantry units to end the fight as quick as possible. With their infantry shattered, we only need to give chase to the archers with Marcus and our wagons to win the battle.
Well done, comrades. I am the Huntsmarshal.
There's a good chance the lizards are recruiting a new army in the Fog of War on turn 4, so we're going to bring Marcus home using the waterways.
Covering ground.
With Ricard, we'll continue recruitment by picking up 2 unshielded spearmen and a unit of archers. Let's also upgrade our garrison to provide protection from rebellions and other foreign aggressors in Lustria. At the beginning of turn 5, we have our first shipment of Imperial supplies. Fantastic! You can pick any one of these you want, but for this guide, I picked the infantry detachments as they synergize better with the skills and technologies I've chosen. We have new hostiles coming in from the south, so let's reposition Marcus near our capital city in another ambush, taking advantage of his legendary lord trait. Let's also put all of Ricard's units into Marcus's army to hide our true strength. You could recruit some of the new units from the Imperial supplies now, but I like to wait and use them like Raised Dead or Regiments of Renown to rapidly bring a weakened army back to full strength. Once more, the walnut-brained lizardmen fall for our trap. We'll fight this battle manually and try to distribute our casualties among the garrison in order to leave Marcus's force strong for a possible counterattack. Even though we ambush the lizards, we choose not to attack them immediately and instead wait for our garrison to enter the field. The lizards have taken the high ground and are forming their ranks, while Marcus and his direct force occupy the opposite hill. Our garrison enters from the map edge and hustles into position. We goad the lizards into abandoning their defensive position with Marcus, Ricard, and the war wagon. Moments later, our missile troops are free to open fire, and our Free Company militia are ready to fire through gaps in our infantry line. The bulk of the Lizardmen army has mired themselves into melee with our garrison, leaving Marcus's army to pick apart solitary units with flanking maneuvers. Some of our garrison infantry lose their resolve, leaving Marcus and Ricard to pick up the slack. With the lizards losing their lust for battle, Marcus lines up his final shots at their fleeing lord. We've soundly defeated the lizards and earned 802 gold, a Van Horseman speculum, a rank for Marcus, and will pardon the captives for a little extra coin.
I've no time for human baggage.
It's turn 6 and our lords have earned some new skill points. We'll pick Emperor's Finest for Ricard, and with Marcus having 2 skill points to spend, we'll get the 3rd tier of Pistol Corps. We've also acquired some new items. We'll transfer the Potion of Toughness and Banner of Swiftness from Ricard over to Marcus. Our garrison upgrade will be complete in one more turn, and we've finished our ammunition research, so now we can work on our reload time reduction. Let's also wipe out the remainder of this Lizardman army. We have some weak units, so we'll fight it manually to ensure their survival. Their battered infantry are no match for our missile superiority, and the Lizardmen are destroyed quite easily.
The scouts shall never fall. The Emperor grants this pardon.
It would be nice to know if Chotek has been upgraded to tier 3. We can use Ricard in a transport to check and then return him to our capital. As it's not yet tier 3, we'll position Marcus in an ambush stance where we think the lizards may be most likely to attack from next. It's turn 7, and Ricard the Sailor once more sets out to scout Chotek. It's still tier 2, but they are recruiting an army here. We want to ambush the lizards once more, but we need some replenishment. We'll bring Ricard home, transfer all of our units into his army, and encamp with Markus.
Markus Wulfhart.
Turn 8 presents us with a dilemma. We could spend money to increase leadership, but our income per turn is currently negative. Let's dismiss this by doing nothing and work on setting a trap for the lizards in Chotek. We'll move forward with Marcus into another ambush outside Chotek and transfer all our slightly replenished units into his army, leaving Ricard as a delicious delicacy the lizards simply cannot resist.
Stay together.
And the lizards slip on another carefully laid banana peel. Let's fight this manually to reduce casualties.
Let's get this done.
We take position on the high ground in order to force the lizards to fight uphill. Marcus moves to our front to intercept the lizards while the huntsmen fire on them, and the rest of our missile units move into position on the flanks. Again, our Free Company militia are positioned to fire freely into the engaged lizards, while our war wagon lures other lizard units away from the primary engagement. As the lizards stop pursuing the war wagon, we bring detachments of spearmen to intercept them, while the war wagon continues to cause casualties. Once our enemy loses their morale, we continue to shoot at their exposed backs to inflict more casualties as they flee the field. It's turn 9 and we have another dilemma. We won't be doing any more recruitment, so let's pick the increased leadership for our armies. Our hostility level has increased to the 2nd rank, and we now have one of Markus Wulfhart's unique hunters, Kalara the Waystalker. During this part of the campaign, we'll primarily use her to assault units and possibly garrisons.
The expedition is
Markus has a skill point we'll put into Emperor's Finest, and will make sure both the messenger and scribe followers are equipped by Markus to increase his campaign movement range. Once more, we'll use Ricard to scout Chotek, which is now tier 3. Time to attack. We'll lower their defenses by assaulting the garrison with Kalara, and put our resulting skill point into Specialist to reduce hero action cost. I'd like to attack immediately before they recruit more troops or replenish, but our current army is not full strength. We'll merge some units, dismiss others, and finally recruit halberdiers and huntsmen from our imperial supplies. Finally, we attack Chotek.
We'll handle them.
The lizards rush towards our infantry, once more deployed with gaps in their line for the Free Company militia. We absorb their initial charges with our halberdiers, but as the battle wages on, we must pull them back and regroup while other infantry intercept the lizards. Our huntsmen are deployed on our left flank, and together with the war wagon dispatch 2 units of Saurus, although it does take some time. The lizards have flanked us and are pursuing our archers. We bring infantry units to intercept. The militia are clearing the skinks off the hill, our halberdiers are regrouping, and our huntsmen are still tangled with the Saurus. The battle wages on. Our halberdiers are recovering their stamina, our missiles are firing on available targets, but soon some of the fleeing enemy will regroup and return to the fray. Our front line is overwhelmed by the regrouping lizards. They retreat, and the lizards pursue into our halberdiers. The huntsmen, now free of the Saurus on our flanks, finally converge on the main conflict by firing into the remaining skinks. Eventually, the lizardmen generals expose themselves, and our missile units, including Markus, open fire. And soon after, the lizardmen flee the field. We'll occupy the city, taking note that our hostility level has increased further, and build our growth building, because our top priority is to raise Chotek back to tier 3 so we can have walls. To assist with this, we'll also pick the growth commandment for the province. Markus has another skill point, and we'll pick up the 3rd and final rank of Emperor's Finest. Not shown, I also recruited a single unit of unshielded spearmen. During the AI moves, Tlotlan asks us for peace, and naturally we decline. A rogue naval faction led by Gentleman Jenkins declares war. We can effectively ignore him. The defenders of the Great Plan would also like peace, but they won't pony up enough cash. Here we are at turn 10 with another dilemma. We can accept some money for our treasury, but it will increase chaos corruption. We don't want to deal with that, so let's refuse this creature and the money. There's also an elector count dilemma, and increasing our hostility is going to earn us Imperial supplies faster, so let's choose that option and bring our hostility to the 4th tier. We end the turn by bringing Markus and Ricard towards our capital and sending Kalara to scout the lizards to our south. Right about now, we'd also expect the Blue Vipers to be repopulating this province, so we want to be sure to keep an eye out for them. On turn 11, we have yet another dilemma, and we'll pick the option that increases growth and lowers public order. This helps us grow our population and spawn another rebellion for experience and potential items. Chotek is vulnerable to attack without its walls, so let's continue scouting with Kalara to our south, and let's bring Ricard back to our southeast. Once more, we'll ambush with Markus and wait patiently for the lizards to encroach on our territory again. At turn 12, we have a notification of an imminent rebellion, so let's bring Markus back to the city and ambush again. Ricard will push further south for line of sight, and if we had an outrider follower to increase his line of sight, we'd equip that now. Unfortunately, we don't. We'll attempt to level up Kalara with an agent action. There's a 9% chance of being wounded assaulting the garrison, so let's check our odds on this single lord. Only a 4% chance of being wounded. Much better. The action fails, however, and we don't gain a skill point, but at least she's still on the map. It's time to upgrade Chotek's town center, and you'll note that with our current negative income per turn, we'll be bankrupt in 10 turns. I'm not worried about this, as we'll soon gain income by fighting the rebellion, and soon the lizards once more. Turn 13 brings about our rebellion, but first let's start our next research. We've finished our ammunition and reload time reduction upgrades, so now we'll work on a straight missile damage increase. Ricard is still acting as our eyes and ears, and it will be 3 turns before our town center is upgraded. Let's get a head start on our walls by demolishing our growth building, and next turn we'll build the garrison upgrade. Let's destroy the fresh rebellion. We'll use auto-resolve since the odds are in our favor, and pick the troop replenishment as our reward. Then we'll continue our wait for the lizards.
Markus Wulfhart. Covering ground.
Tlatlan is not an immediate threat, so I think now is a good time to use Kalara to hunt for treasure and search for another of Markus Wulfhart's unique hunters. Let's send her west. It would be beneficial to disband Ricard as well due to our negative income. However, we also want to respond to incoming threats to Chotek quickly, so for now, he can sit tight. We're on turn 14 now, and most likely Tlatlan has completed their recruitment. Kalara isn't around the scout anymore, so let's push ahead conservatively with Markus. And here they are. Let's pull back towards our garrison to improve our odds. With Kalara, we continue towards the spine of Sotek. We've also completed a mission by moving her into this territory. This is great timing, as we can really use the extra funds in our treasury. There's a follow-up mission to kill 1,000 enemies in battle, which will give us even more money, and it looks like we'll be completing that shortly. Back to the lizards, if they do lay siege, it will block our replenishment for Markus. However, since it's a port settlement, we can sell out and back in through Chotek to open our replenishment again. We may not need to, but it's an option. The lizards lay siege on turn 15, but first let's head south with Kalara and unlock Jorek the Grim. This unique hunter has lots of benefits to our missile damage, so we'll want to put him in Markus's army. However, with Markus stuck in the settlement, Jorek won't spawn until we clear the siege. The balance of power is in our favor, so we don't need any shenanigans to increase replenishment. We can just auto-resolve at the cost of some basic spearmen. Between the battle and pardoning captives, we gain 2,000 for our treasury and another 3,000 for our quest to cause casualties in battle. There's also a new quest to raid a region belonging to the Lizardmen. We'll move out with Markus into an ambush stance again. Let's also put our skill point into rally. Jorek the Grim joins our expedition on turn 16, now that the siege is cleared. We'll embed him into Markus's army to initially provide movement range, but later on he'll also be increasing our overall missile damage. We'll equip him with some items, but none of the public order followers, as we'd like to continue killing rebellions. At Chotek, we'll start our city watch and also build roads for growth and increased campaign movement range to help us put out fires. It's not quite time to disband Ricard, but we will soon. One of the elector counts also gave us a small pile of money. These are helpful events that pop up from time to time. The Skink Chief is stalking Kalara, and while I'd like to wound or assassinate him, searching for treasure is a guaranteed experience gain with a chance for money and items. For our efforts, we get 1,000 coin and an obsidian blade. We'll put our skill point into Specialist once more. During AI moves, I've seen the Blue Vipers moving about a bit, so they may be preparing to settle here. We also can't see what the lizards are up to, so we'll move a small amount with Markus. No sign of them yet, so let's ambush. There's no shortage of dilemmas this campaign, as turn 17 finds us choosing between spending money for increased public order or allowing extra growth with public order penalties. Kalara will head towards Temple of Kara, and we can see now that the Blue Vipers appear to have settled in the floating pyramid. Looking at their diplomacy, we see they're at war with us, Tlatlan, and New World colonies. Eventually, Mazda Mundi may declare war on them, and that could be our opportunity to pick up table scraps and expand our territory. Chotek will have walls in 2 turns, so Ricard will soon leave our services, and we have an imminent rebellion. We'll move back with Markus and ambush in preparation for the rebellion and the incoming lizards. We could exchange one of our units for the great swords from the Imperial supplies, but I'm going to delay that until we have a little more income per turn. On turn 18, Markus picks up the Ambusher trait, which increases both ambush success and ambush defense chances. Unfortunately, even expert ambushers won't always succeed, and Marcus's ambush has been foiled by the lizard sneaking through a small gap in the terrain. With a single turn remaining before Chotek has walls, we'll destroy the rebellion via auto-resolve, pick up replenishment, and Marcus's rank increases to 10, unlocking our first regiments of renown.
The Huntsmarshal.
It doesn't appear the lizards can reach Chotek, so we'll cut them off with Marcus in an ambush stance and use Ricard as a tasty lizard snack. Let's pick Sharpshooter with our next skill point, which will boost missile damage for units at rank 7 or higher. Some of our units are there already, and the others are well on their way. Kalara will search for treasure. It's time for Lizardman Sudoku, and despite my best efforts, I picked the wrong one. Oops. For her skill point, we can pick assault units, as we'll be doing that soon, and her unique weapon is incoming. Finally, let's upgrade our capital's town center to unlock more building slots. And here the lizardmen push forward to assault Chotek, and in their reckless dash towards the city, fall for our latest ambush. We lose a unit of spearmen in the auto-resolve, but with the post-battle loot and pardoning the captives, it's a non-issue. Finally, on turn 19, our walls in Chotek are complete. We'll head back towards Tlotlan with Marcus and Ricard, and we can see Gentleman Jenkins is in the bay outside of our settlement. He won't attack us on land, but we might have a chance to attack him in the water. Marcus has a skill point that we'll put into Taste for Battle. This is really powerful as it gives physical resist to Albedeers, among other bonuses. Jorik the Grimm's skill point will be spent on reload time reduction, and soon we'll be picking up other skills to boost missile damage in his army. We'll bring Kalara back over to the Lizardmen's territory to see what they're up to. If we have an opportunity, we'll want to siege and take their city after defeating them in open battle and before they can regroup. Our next Elector Count event occurs on turn 20. While it's generally a good idea to repeatedly pick the same Elector Count, this time we want to be careful not to pick the one that increases our hostility. The reason for this is because we're a single turn away from our next Imperial supplies. By keeping our hostility at 4, we'll get supplies next turn. Then, as we fight the lizards or a possible rebellion, we'll hit the highest hostility level and get another immediate shipment of Imperial supplies. We also don't want to pick the option that delays supplies by 5 turns. The smartest choice here is the one that hurts our income for a few turns. It's tempting to attack Gentleman Jenkins, but I don't want to risk increasing our hostility level. Let's move south instead with Marcus and sit tight. I doubt the lizards are strong enough to attack.
Step to it.
We finished all of our most desired missile technologies, so now we'll start working on our infantry, with our next goal being to increase our armor. On turn 21, we pick Imperial regiments for the Huntsmen, Albedeers, and Great Swords. The Vampire Coast Mutineers have also been destroyed, so we automatically complete the mission to be at war with them, and our unique Witch Hunter joins our expedition. A second rogue naval faction has declared war, but as they don't attack us on land, we can just ignore them. When our hostility level reaches the next level, we'll receive another immediate shipment of Imperial supplies. Let's complete our quest to raid Lizardman territory by setting Marcus into a raiding stance here. I'd like to damage their walls at Tlotlan and possibly attack with Marcus the next turn. Our hero fails, however, and is wounded. Kalara fails her attempt to assault units, but isn't wounded, and we can disband Ricard finally to increase our income per turn.
Huntsman General.
At the beginning of turn 22, we complete our quest to raid Lizardman territory and earn an extra 4,000 coin for our treasury. Our income per turn is finally looking better, as is our settlement. We hit the cap on hostility, which spawned this Lizardman stack, while Tlotlan has pushed forward without engaging. We're going to pull back with Marcus to prepare to clear the rebellion and the latest incoming lizards.
Onwards, man.
Once we clear the quest notification, we can see we did get our next shipment of Imperial supplies. This time we'll take the artillery so we can attack walled settlements on the turn we arrive. New world colonies have been destroyed, and Hexwaddle, Blue Vipers, and Skeggi are involved in a brawl over this land. If I were to play this campaign further, I'd want to clear the most immediate threats, which are the rebels and the Spawn Lizardman army. Then I'd use our excess of Imperial supplies to overwhelm Tlatlan, finish occupying the rest of that province, and also keep a close eye on the war waging to our northwest. It's a good time to be opportunistic and look for an AI faction that is losing badly or weakened by recent battles, which is a great time to swoop in and pick up some new lands. I hope you found this guide helpful and informative, and that maybe it gave you some ideas if you're struggling with the Markus Wulfhart campaign. Check out the rest of the channel, consider subscribing, and thanks again so much for watching.